Architecture, which is a software, the perfect software to start the project or to get the whole general idea about the budget of the project. Of course, as Jaime said before, as we said, we can start. We can do the budget calculation for all the parts of the building, starting from the architectural model to the structure to the MEP. Okay, so the CYPE architecture allow us here to share the project to the BIMserver.center after connecting it to the cloud. Okay, and then we can see here that on Open BIM Quantities we will have the same model as we can see here. Okay, so we have, as Jaime said, the software is very advanced, but it's very easy to use. We have three main parts on this software. The first part is the BIM model. As you can see here, the model was imported from any other software. It has to be with the 3D view, or we can use DXF, DWGs that we call 2D plans. Okay.
So we can also measure from 2D plans if necessary, correct? This is obviously more precise, but if we're not using BIM, this software can also be for me, correct?
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
For the quantities, for example, the length, the width of the different elements, we are going to see it here in Open BIM Quantities, but especially later as well in Arquimedes and job control, because a lot of users for controlling the job or controlling directly on the field, they prefer to use the plans that they have on hand to see the width and the length of the elements. So we give them the possibility to, with of course the snap object tool, to measure those parts on 2D plans. Okay, but here, as we said, it's more advanced. We can go on the 3D model. Of course, this 3D model on CYPE architecture was based on 2D plans. We can do it on 2D plans, of course, or if we started the creation directly of the model, we can export it and we can get 2D plans from this model. Okay, so this is the first part of it, the BIM model that we have here. This model, I repeat, that it can be from any other software. Okay.
So it's recognizing these items. Like I see that there's a box on the top left that says project, and then it says IFC beams, building, IFC building story, IFC columns. Beneath that, I see another window that says parameters. So you're telling me that this project has 492 parameters, I guess, right? No? On the top it says that more or less?
Yes, here the number of the elements, not the parameters.
Of the elements, okay.
Yes.
And then beams, it has one beam.
Yes, one beam model, which contains 492 elements. So every model contains a lot of elements that we call physical elements. That's what we are going to see now in seeing the main interface of the software. So from here, we can see that we have the tree of the different entities, okay, as we can see here. But we can organize it with a structure of the elements here, as you can see, okay. We can organize by layers or by groups, okay. So this is a part depending to the user, depending to the way that he wanna work, okay. So for those elements was originally from, for example, in this model from CYPE Architecture, but they can come from other software. If we click on an element, or if we click here on a part, it can be selected directly on the 3D view. Okay, the 3D view, of course, can be controlled here. For example, I want it transparent to see it clearer. Okay, so if we click here on any element, you can see, Jaime, that it can be selected a group of elements. For example, here, the IFC wall, which is the entity, it selects all the possible walls or all the walls on the software. But in opening it, we see here different categories. We can like move between them. Or if we click directly here on the model on a wall, let us get back to the other view. if we click here directly on a model, it's gonna be selected directly here on the entity tree. Okay, so every element, of course, have a list of parameters. The entity, for example, for this one or for this roof here, the entity is IFC roof. It have a name, of course, floor slab 59. So those parameters are imported with the model. We can see that in the BIMserver.center, in the cloud that we have, we are not going, or we don't only export the 3D model that we can see with the mobile, with the QR codes, with a lot of ways, but it export also the parameters. It export documents. It export even PDF files with the budget, etc. Okay, so one of the parameters that we have, for example, here, the name of the element. Okay, as we can see here, which is the floor slab 5, and the technical elements that we call quantities, because the Open BIM quantities, to calculate the budget, he is going to need dimensions, quantities that we call. Okay, for example, here, what we're gonna need for the budget calculation is the net area. Okay, gross area and net area. We are going to see later how we are going to use those parameters to calculate the budget. For example, here for the window, we can see that we have the area of the window, the height, the perimeter, and the width. So those parameters are depending to my design on CYPE Architecture or in the other software. Or for example, if we have here a structural model from, I don't know, from CYPE CAD, we can see here other parameters depending to the model and depending to the need to calculate the budget, what we're gonna need, what you're gonna calculate. So here we're gonna find all what we need. Okay.
Let me ask you a question. Can you click on the part of columns? On the columns? And can you put the project
column here?
Okay, and does it give you there the gross section areas? Does it give you the volume and the surface areas? Because obviously, if we're working with columns, we need surface areas and we need volume. And I see you only. Can we get that when you do the columns?
Yes. Here we can see that here on the quantities, we have the volume. Okay.
Oh,
even the
nice.
net volume,
very nice.
net surface area, we have all the parameters that we need for a column. Okay, the column, it can be for the buildings a special element, more technical element. So if we import the column from a structural software, we will have those parameters. But even if we were using CYPE Architecture, we can create columns except the walls and the doors and the slabs. We can create columns, okay? And in creating those columns, we will get all those parameters. So in the technical part, it's quite complete.
And what is that I'm looking underneath the 3D image? Underneath the 3D image, there's another section that says quantities.
Yes.
And it says code, reference, and I see more information on that. Below the image, what is that?
So those information are the results of the elements. We can see here the formula. For example, if we select this column or if we select this roof, let us go back to the column. We are going to see that here, after selecting the cost database and the measurement rules, we are going to see here directly the formula. For example, here, the A and the B and the quantity of the column. Okay.
Very interesting.
And here we have the unit.
That will happen when we select the set of measurement rules.
Yes.
Oh, very interesting.
The cost databases and then measurement rules. I'm going to talk about it here in general idea so that everybody understand how the software works. So
then the 3 steps are BIM model, cost database, and set of measurement rules, correct?
Exactly. How is it? We import the BIM model from any other software, then we use the cost databases to put the prices of the different elements that we have, okay? The labor, the material, the price of every element. For example, here for the column, of course, we are going to need to put the price of the materials, of the steel, of the labor, of the waste, of the machinery, etc. And then to connect those prices with the column, for example, here, I'm going to connect the price with the column. So what I need a parameter here, for example, the name of the column or the entity, any parameter that we need, okay? So I need to connect it, for example, with the name. So I need to connect the price with this column by its name here. And then the software, I will choose, for example, I want to calculate the quantity and the price of the column depending to its volume, or depending to its net surface area, or depending to 2 or 3 parameters. For example, net surface area per length, okay? So let us start with the cost databases here, okay? The software give us per defect a list of cost databases that we can see here. For example, let me copy it that we are.
So you can easily copy and paste one of these. You can copy and paste and start.
Of course.
Okay.
Yes,
so
of
I
course.
Can use this like as my starting point.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Those are some cost databases per defect that come with the software. But if you want to copy, or if you want to use the same, we can just copy it, and here we go to edit to see all the parts of it. Or
how about if I have my own cost data? Sorry to cut you off. What about if I have my own cost database on an Excel sheet?
You can import it. You can import, okay, a cost database here. You can import CSV, okay, or you can import a BC3 format, okay.
Well, so the CSV is similar to Excel.
Yes, exactly.
Perfect.
Okay, so we can import it here as CSV, or we can import it as BC3, and the BC3 is a file that already came from a BIM management software. Okay.
Oh, perfect.
So you can see here that we can export a BC3 and we can import it. But for the Excel here, we can only import it. Okay. Let us open an example. For example, here we have, I'm going to superstructure, for example, or to substructure, foundations, okay? And here we have the reinforced concrete slab elements, or the section, okay? Which the main section that we can see here contains a lot of elements. Contains, for example, here the concept called the labor per hour. We can see here the units per hour. Okay, so how we create those elements? In starting by the cost databases, first thing is we create the resources. On the resources, we can add an item. This item can be unclassified. Okay, can be a labor, machinery, material, or generated waste, or we can just do it unclassified. Okay, we can like create a new code, or we can repeat a code that we already have, okay, to it. We can create a unit, hour, meter, kilograms, etc. is depending to the need, and we can create the rate or the price of 1 unit of this element. For example, here the labor, we can create it by hour. Okay, we can do a code here, and we can say, for example, that 1 hour of labor with I don't know, 15 euros. Okay, so we can here create a summary, and we can add some key terms. So if we are going to look for this item later, or for this section later, we can find it here by some key terms. Okay, so this is the main idea of creating the prices. And then after creating the resources of the different prices, we go here to the items. We can create sections, okay, code of the section, summary of the section, and we can start like growing the tree of the elements, okay. For example, here for the roofs, we have warm, no traffical flat roofs. We add another section here, okay, other section here, and then we create the item. And with the item of the gravel roof, as you can see here, we can add concept to the breakdown. So here we can choose anything or one from the resources here. For example, we can see that, for example, here for the excavations, we are going to need, I don't know, 100 hours of the machinery. This one here, 120 hours, and 0.05 hours from this one, from the labor here. Okay, it's depending to the calculation and depending to the choose of the user. Okay, so this is in general the cost databases part is to put the prices, the sections, etc. It's very easy to learn. We have, of course, the learning resources. We have videos, tutorials. We have even quick views to show and to see examples. We have trainings as well to do this part. Okay.
Let me ask you a question. I've heard that you can also include your carbon waste emission, your CO2 emissions, and your
Yes, of
waste
course.
generated as well, no?
Yes, we can include all those elements. For example, here in this section, we can hear description, graphical information, attached document specification, technical information. Here we have
on the technical information. There we have the in technical information. Go back. There. Okay, yes. We have the mass volume. We have the environmental CO2 emission. Oh, perfect. So you can add all that to your project. Great.
All of this, Jaime, can be shown later in the reports. So any element that you add from here on the software, we are going to have it on the report. So
all right, perfect.
It have to feel free to fill all the parameters that you have, all the possible parameters, to get more perfect and more filled reports that we're gonna see later. Here, for example, we have some waste elements, as you can see.
All right, great.
And how it's magical that after creating here the cost databases with all those parameters, imagine that all those prices and parameters, sections, items with their details, it's gonna be connected automatically with the BIM model. How we connected? We connect them inputting some measurement rules. Okay, so now we are going to move to the second or the third part to have the budget calculation, which is the measurement rules. Okay, I'm gonna copy this measurement rule that we have per defect on the software, and I'm gonna see examples, and I'm gonna show you how can I do one measurement rule. Okay, we see here that we have work section structures. In general, it comes with the same structure of the cost database. Okay. And here we have the different names of the rules of measurement. Okay, just to organize here those parts. Those two parts are for organization. Okay, and here we can see that we have a selection and items. Let us go to see an example. For example, here for the front door. Okay, we have here for the selection and the items, the IFC door, plot interest, and bulletproof front door. What is those? Those are the parameters that they are going to connect the element, the physical element, the door, with the price. Okay, this part is to connect the element, for example, by its name or by its entity. For example, here it's connecting by entity and type name or type name. So the entity here is mandatory, and you can choose here. Or if you want to select all the doors, for example, you choose here only the entity is equals to IFC door. So here it will select all the doors, and it will, if we put the price here, it will connect all the doors that we have. So it's like, it looks maybe it looks quite complicated or quite a new way for connecting the elements or for the budget calculation, but it's very, very easy to use, very practical. It's so fast to learn. Okay, as you can see here, we can create a new other selection. For example, in creating a selection, of course, it's gonna be in the tree here. By those arrows, we can control the organization on the tree. Okay, logical operator and an or, the entity, the type, of course, the type of the parameter. I prefer always seeing in the same time the different parameters of the elements. For example, now if I am working on the front door as we are seeing here, the software will make us move out of this window to go to the door, bulletproof front door, for example, here, to see the different parameters that we have. We have only one door, but we have, if we select, for example, only IFC door, we have that the entity here is IFC door. So he will select all those parts, but we can add to IFC door a type name thing, which is plot entrance. Okay, this one here, which is on type name, plot entrance, and then we can do it and or. So one of those two, he's going to choose one of those two or work on both of them. Bulletproof door. Okay. So in this example, he's going to select those two elements. So this is the philosophy, or this is the way of selecting the elements. Okay. So after like filling this part here, okay, we can go to assign codes. Okay. We can see here that he took us to the part of the cost database. Okay, we can choose an item, or we can look for the item here. Okay, for example, door. Okay, or bullet proof. We don't have it here for the door. Okay, the price, because here we select the prices, and then we select here the part from the cost database directly. We can select it. So all those parameters on item, all those parameters, as we can see here, will be filled automatically. So we can fill those parameters for the item automatically, or we can fill them here by assigning directly the cost database. So let me explain to you what is this part to get it much more simpler. The items is like those parameters here. For example, I can choose the work section that I selected there. I can choose one of the work sections that we have. Okay. Here I choose the reference, etc. As I said, those parameters in assigning the code from the cost database, it will be selected automatically. It will be filled automatically. And here I will select the parameter, one of the parameters that I have here. Okay. For example, here I can select the height. Okay. So I will calculate only depending, not the height, for example, only depending to the area. Okay. The area here by meter2. Okay. Or I can like calculate depending to a formula. For example, here I have A, B, C, D that we saw before here, as you remember. So for example, for this formula, I can select height, okay, and width. I will do here, I have the B and C, so I will write B and C, okay. For example, I can write any formula I want. For example, I can do +10 or -10, and this formula will be written in the reports and will be used to calculate the budget. Okay, so this is the measurement rules in general. As you can see here, in this case, we don't have a formula, but we only have the A part. Okay, so this is in general the measurement rules. Don't be afraid of it. As I said, we have trainings, and we have free courses and trainings, and
we have the user manual as well. So it's a matter of just practicing it. You weren't an expert on Excel the first time you used it either, I'm sure.
Exactly. And Jaime, starting the first project and only following one training, it will be so simple to use and so practical, of course. So the use of this software is gaining time, moving projects, calculate the budget of the different projects. Imagine that you have a project which contains a part of architecture structure. So with this software, it's going to be so fast.
Well, once you set that up, now the next step, you're going to go to the bill of quantities tool. But the other great thing is that if the architect makes a change in the measurements today, and tomorrow you receive a new model, once you've already entered your cost database and your set of measurement rules, if you enter a new BIM model, it doesn't matter. All you're going to do is update the measurements and update your model, and that's it. You don't have to remeasure. So they can give you a new architectural model with minor changes 10 times that it doesn't matter, correct? You just update the measurement and that's it. Okay, so let's move on to the quantities tab. I think this part's pretty clear.
Yes, exactly. I want to confirm your word, Jaime. You can see here in the cost database and the measurement rule. So we have here all the saved prices and element that we are working on, and we can even export them. Okay, we can export and import them. So this is very important to gain a lot of time. Thank you for this information. So here we move to bill of quantities. So this is the other part of the software. So here we have automatically the budget was calculated. Okay. Here we have as well our building. We can we can change the view of it, as you can see here. Here we have the 3D model. Of course, if we had other models, we are going to see them by list there. Okay. Here we have only architecture. We can see even structure, MEP, for example, water supply, etc. Okay. So the model can be here on transparent. So if we go to any part, or if we select any part, it's gonna take us directly to this part, as you can see here. Okay, gonna take us directly to the price of the part, but not only the price, the quantity detail line. Okay, that we can modify anytime. Okay. We can see here the partial subtotal, accumulated subtotal. Expression is something depending to the mathematics. Okay, we have here the certificates of it. Okay, for this part, and of course we can select all the projects, as you can see here. For this bill of quantities part as well, we can start the project with it. We can add sections here manually. So after we calculated the project automatically, depending to the BIM model in the way that we saw, we can here add sections, items manually. Of course, in adding those items or those elements manually, the price will change. Here, every time we can update the quantities to update the price. We do it here to update the price because we want, like some users want to do the work, add the elements, and later see the results. Okay, so
they want to compare with the as-built. They want to compare with what they're using in the job. So perfect.
Exactly. Yes. Here, as you can see it. Okay, and then we can, like, of course, here in the view of the report, we have here some parameters for the view. Okay, you can here edit the view here, edit elements, change the position of it, etc. Okay, and here we have the BOQ reports. Okay, we have here the general reports.
There's many reports that you can do. You could do quantities, cost breakdown structure, price detail. Very interesting. Can you show us a couple of examples of these? Can you show us, for example, the one that says only quantities?
Yes. For example, here only quantities. We can see here the reports. Okay. We have here code, unity, description, quantity. You can see how beautiful is it.
Yeah. So you have a description of this, and a description with the quantity.
Yes, exactly.
Can I export this?
Yes, we can export it from here as a report to PDF, Word, etc. Or directly from this tree, we can export to Excel. Okay.
Oh, wow.
From this tree directly, we can export to Excel. And if we go here to a report, we can export to PDF or Word. Okay.
Can I see the detailed? Can I see the detailed bill of quantities?
Yes, of course. Detailed price bill of quantities. We can see it here. So in this detail, you can see here that you have a lot of pages. For example, here on the summary or on the index, if we click here, we can go to the parts directly. On the detail, we have the code of the elements, unity, description, quantity, rate, and amount. Rate of the unity price, okay, and amount is the total price of it. So here we have all the details, all the detailed elements and values to get the price. We can see as well the specifications, for example. Okay. We have
Can you
all
check?
kind of
Oh, these are the specs. Okay, perfect. Because you also said there was a specificate. There's one which is environmental impact indicators.
Exactly, and for the waste as well.
Wow.
You can see here, all detailed and all organized.
So this is the energy cost and the carbon emissions per kilo. Very interesting. Very interesting.
All the impacts on the environment, or we can see, as we are seeing here, the waste, construction and demolition waste. Here we are going back to environmental impact indicators. Okay, so here all the emissions, all the energy costs, CO2 emission by kilograms, all of them, it can be seen, as you can see here. Okay.
Wow. Very interesting. Very interesting.
Yes,
now we're running a little bit low on time, so can I ask you, can you measure? This is the page where you can measure off a 2D drawing here, right? Because I heard that you could. This is where you would be able to do that, no?
Yes, of course. Here we have the possibility to start to have the 2D drawing. For example, let me here see the drawing. Of course, we need to adjust the drawing before starting the project. To adjust the drawing, we have here the transformation window. So with the transformation window, of course, you can put the coordination 0, 0, you can change it, and you can adjust the scale, okay? So for example, if we are sure that the distance between this point and this point, for example, is 5 meters, so here we select the known distance to adjust the scale of the template, and we select 5 meters. So all the drawing will be adjusted automatically, and the values will be correct. Okay.
Very
so
interesting.
This is the other way.
Very interesting. But now, when you generate, going back to this, because we're a little bit short already on time, you said that you can generate a file from here that then you can export it to another program to be able to do all of the job management. Is that correct?
Exactly. Now we can export to BC3, and we can use later the other software, which is very big. The most potential software for the job control is Arquimedes. So with Arquimedes, we have only Arquimedes, and we have the other software is Arquimedes and job control. So Arquimedes is the other type software for the budget calculation. But we have it here even for the job control.
Now, how would I import something in an FB3 into here?
We simply go to import, and we can see here not only BC3, but we have a lot of formats of importing. This software is one of the most potential softwares on site. It needs maybe more time, but today I'm going to show it in a brief way. I'm gonna try to show some parts, the most important parts of this software, about the importation and exportation of the files of the budget calculation. You see that we are very open. Export to FE BDC3, okay, to Excel, to CSV, to Revit, or export directly to the cloud, to our cloud BIMserver.center.
Well, what I would mostly like to see here, what I would mostly like to see here is how you can generate a Gantt chart from here.
Yes, of course. We have the possibility, you know, that a lot of users for the Gantt chart, they use the MS Project, for example, okay, which is the most common software in the world. So here you can create, you have all the parameters and all the icons, the tools to create the elements on Gantt chart. and later you can export it to MS Project, to Microsoft Project, okay? Even in older versions, okay? You can print it, you can modify it. You can see here, modify the chart manually. It's exactly as you are working on MS Project. So you can do it here directly. If the other user, or if the responsible, or if the other company is using MS Project, you just go and export it from here, or you can get it just in simply in PDF from here. Okay. So this is the Gantt chart. You can do a screen capture to use it. You have a lot of possibilities, background colors. You have all the options that you need, etc. Okay. Here, as you can see, we have the code of the element. As Jaime said before, we can export the project as BC3 from Open BIM Quantities or from any other software. We saw here a lot of importing and exporting parameters. This example, this project, for example, we can see here that it have a lot of elements: code, summary, quantities, rate, amount, offer 1, offer 2, offer 3 if we want, a lot of offers that we can compare. Of course, the software always with its role, it gives you in a clear way always the best offers, the best prices in the job control. For example, here in the project control, we go to the accounts, we put the different suppliers, clients, financial, purchase, sales, input taxes, output taxes, income taxes suppliers, income taxes clients, equivalent surcharge, etc. We have here all the parameters to control the job, to compare the bills, to compare the suppliers, the clients, to see all what you need on the management of your project. Okay. Of course, here we have some elements. For example, here for I selected the view of the quantities and the different certificates. Okay. For example, here for the soil movement, I have here this section. Okay. I have units. I go, for example, to the leveling as well. I have the same unit, length, width. So those elements can be selected directly on DXF DWG plan. So we go here to the AutoCAD plan and we just select from one point to another. Okay. As you can see here, we have all the tools to modify if you want the plan, to mark the different points, to see the different parts of the plan, and we can select from between 2 points to select automatically the length here. Of course, in any part, we can select the value depending to a plan, or we can simply write there.